Good evening, I am Cynthia Ng. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, will investigate any form of bribery using provisions under the law and not based on personal interpretations. This follows talks of vote buying, which were claimed to be acts of charity by candidates of political parties during the 15th general election.
In a report by the Star, MACC Chief Tan Sri Azambaki said the Election Offences Act 1954 clearly defines what constitutes vote buying, and any term used to defend an argument is mere personal interpretation. He said whether it is sedekah or contribution, Section 10A of the law defines it a bribe paid to voters, regardless whether the voters solicit it or not. Perikatan Nasional Secretary General Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin admitted on Sunday that his coalition's election candidates gave money to voters, but said it was at the request of the voters themselves. He said voters would come up to their candidates during the campaigning to ask for financial aid. Before that, past President Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang said giving cash handouts to voters before an election does not amount to bribery, but called it charity instead.
Anyone who is charged over 15,000 ringgit by agents to hire an Indonesian domestic helper should lodge a report with the Consulate General of Indonesia. Its Consul General in Johor Bahru, Sigit S. Widianto, said this following complaints that there are agents who are still charging beyond the maximum limit.
The limit of 15,000 ringgit per worker was set through a Memorandum of Understanding on the Recruitment and Protection of Indonesian Domestic Helpers signed by both countries last year. Sigit said his agency still received complaints of agents charging up to 30,000 ringgit per worker. He stressed on the importance of abiding to the MOU, which aims to protect both foreign workers and employers. Since the signing of the document, around 1,000 applications to hire Indonesian domestic helpers have been made so far, and the number is expected to increase based on current demand.
The Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry has called for an increase in the number of immigration counter staff at KLIA amid increasing number of tourists coming into Malaysia. Its Minister Datuk Sri Tiong King Seng said it is also time to extend the facial recognition system to all international visitors to overcome the problem of long waiting time.
Currently, the facial recognition system is only limited to Malaysians and non-Malaysians holding long-term permits. Tiong said this following a spot check at the tourist arrival process at KLIA when he found that tourists had to queue for almost 2 hours for the immigration check-in process. Malaysia, he said, needed to solve the long waiting time problem immediately if Malaysia wants to welcome tourists and make the country among the most preferred destination. He also proposed that KLIA authorities consider stationing multilingual staff to ease inspection procedures for tourists.
The Malaysian Medical Association, MMA, said allowing people at highest risk of HIV access to pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP will help fight the spread of HIV in Malaysia. President Dr. Muruga Rajathurai explained that the decision to allow its access should be science-based for the best possible outcome.
This comes amid split views over the public distribution of PrEP to high-risk groups. The Selangor Mufti Department argued that giving PrEP to LGBT groups is colluding in sin, saying it should only be given to straight married couples where one is HIV infected. The Health Ministry is distributing PrEP for free to target groups at selected public clinics as part of a pilot study sponsored by the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria. PrEP has a 99% efficacy rate of preventing HIV transmission through sex and a 74% efficacy of preventing transmission through injection. Sexual transmission is now the main driver of HIV transmission in Malaysia, and men who have sex with men are expected to be the key population affected by HIV in Malaysia in 2030.
The development of the halal industry is one of the new areas of collaboration that can be explored between Malaysia and Brunei, says Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir. He joins Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's two-day official visit to Brunei beginning today.
The Malaysian Investment Development Authority and the Brunei Investment Agency will be signing MOUs covering digital economy, oil and gas, artificial intelligence, smart farming and tourism. Zamri added that the import and export activities between the two countries have also improved post-pandemic. Following the reopening of the economic sectors, the Malaysia Brunei trade relations recorded a trade volume of more than 10 billion ringgit. Last year, Brunei was Malaysia's 26th biggest trade partner and its 6th in ASEAN, with total trade at 13.22 billion ringgit. Zamri said the annual leaders' consultation between Malaysia and Brunei, aimed at further improving bilateral ties, will be also held in Malaysia this year.
The recent decision by Bank Negara Malaysia to maintain its overnight policy rate at 2.75% has bucked the trend of 4 consecutive hikes announced since May last year. Is this a sign of inflation being tempered? Dr. Carmelo Ferlito of Center for Market Education weighs in on interest rate controls and why it is not a magic bullet in combating inflation.
I do not believe that lowering interest rates necessarily bring an expansive trajectory in the economy, and at the same time, I don't believe that simply lowering the interest rate is a magic stick against inflation. The situation is much more complex than that. This is the first reflection. The second reflection is that inflation in Malaysia is somehow, the actual size of inflation is covered by the heavy subsidies and control prices that we have in Malaysia. So these measures are not controlling inflation, are covering it, are hiding it. So we don't really have the real scale of inflation captured by statistics. And the third reflection is that an effective fight against inflation is only partly made of monetary policy. It implies also cutting government expenditures. Without a serious policy on government spending, the fight against inflation will be always partially ineffective.
We will go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
As a bank, it's what drives us to do right by you.
Jangan lupa Yakult ni. Mari kita minum Yakult setiap hari. Bakteria baik, usus dilindungi. Usus Baharu untuk immunity. Di sini syurota strain pertahankan kami. Jom minum Yakult setiap hari. Usus mantap, kuat lagi immunity. Yakult, Yakult.
Kita kembali lagi dalam Yang Mana Satu Idaman You. Okey, kali ini you dah tak payah pilih dah. Nak internet pantas, wifi kencang dan berjimat untuk hiburan? Hanya RM164.99 sebulan. Anda dapat 5 dalam 1. Internet laju, 100 saluran Astro, aplikasi Astro Go, Disney Plus Hotstar dan HBO Go. Psst, harga asal RM184.99 tau. Tukarlah pack sekarang.
Welcome back. 7 people were killed in 2 related shootings in a coastal community in San Francisco just 2 days after another shooting claimed 11 lives in California. The attacker, identified as 67-year-old Tao Chun Lee, is in custody after he was found in his car outside the San Mateo's Sheriff's Station. He was filmed by news cameras turning himself in about 2 hours after the attacks, which occurred at 2 separate agricultural farms at the city of Half Moon Bay, about 50 kilometers south of San Francisco. What is known so far is that Tao is a local resident. Officials believe that Tao is a worker at one of the farms and that the victims were workers as well. However, the motive of attack is still under investigation. The tragedy comes as California mourns the deaths of another mass shooting in Monterey Park during the Lunar New Year celebrations.
We grieve tonight for the deceased members of our community. This is a horrific event, one that we would never imagine would occur in San Mateo County. Gun violence in this country is at completely unacceptable levels. It's really hit home tonight. Our hearts are broken. We are deeply grateful for law enforcement for their work this evening. But in the end, there are simply too many guns in this country, and there has to be a change.
A human rights group and 16 people from Myanmar have filed a criminal complaint in Germany seeking punishment of Myanmar's generals for genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity. According to them, the crimes were committed in Myanmar after the military coup in 2021 and during the 2017 crackdown on Muslim Rohingya.
Fortify Rights, an advocacy group, made the announcement of the filing of the complaint in Bangkok. CEO and co-founder of Fortify Rights, Matthew Smith, said the complaint was lodged in Germany because of its universal jurisdiction laws, which allows for the prosecution of certain grave crimes no matter where they take place.
Members of the military junta should not feel safe from justice in this world, and they must be held accountable. Anyone who is a part of the military junta and has information and would like to do the right thing should come forward and cooperate with international justice mechanisms. The military junta is not the government of Myanmar. It's a criminal enterprise and will be treated as such.
The filing of the complaint comes days before the second anniversary of the military seizure of power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi on February 1st, who is now serving a 33-year prison sentence. The German complaint also comes more than 5 years after the brutal 2017 counter-insurgency operation carried out by Myanmar's security forces against the country's Muslim Rohingya minority. The actions of Myanmar's generals are also under investigation by the International Criminal Court and in a genocide case at the International Court of Justice. But activists seeking accountability have filed cases in national courts in Argentina, Turkey, and now Germany under the concept of universal jurisdiction, which allows prosecution for mass atrocities regardless of location or nationality when the offenses are so severe they represent crimes against the entire international community.
Jacinda Ardern made her final public appearance as New Zealand's Prime Minister before she leaves the role on Wednesday, less than a week after she unexpectedly quit. She was given a rapturous welcome at a gathering of politicians and Maori leaders in the small town of Ratana. In a speech, Ardern said that leading New Zealand was the greatest privilege of her life. She also appeared to reject speculation that abuse and threats she faced in the job had prompted her to quit.
I wouldn't describe it in that way because whilst there's been a bit of commentary in the aftermath of my departure, I would hate for anyone to view my departure as a negative commentary on New Zealand. I've experienced such love, compassion, empathy and kindness when I've been in this job. That has been my predominant experience. So I leave feeling gratitude for having this wonderful role for so many years.
The 42-year-old surprised New Zealand last week when she said she was resigning as leader after more than 5 years because she had nothing left in the tank. On Sunday, Labour Party lawmakers voted unanimously for Chris Hipkins to take over as Prime Minister, and he will be sworn in on Wednesday. A cold wave has been sweeping across central and eastern China, with temperatures in the country's northernmost city, Moher, plunging to minus 53 degrees Celsius, its coldest ever recorded. Moher is widely known as China's North Pole and is one of the few places in the country that have a subarctic climate.
Moher is located in the northeastern Heilongjiang province, nestled near Russian Serbia. Since Friday, temperatures dipped below negative 50 degrees Celsius in Moher for 3 consecutive days. According to the Heilongjiang Meteorological Bureau, the minus 53 degrees Celsius temperature recorded at 7 a.m. on Sunday beat its previous record of minus 52.3 degrees Celsius in 1969. However, the temperature is still shy of China's national record, which is minus 58 degrees Celsius in the city of Genhe, Inner Mongolia, in December 2009. Moher's winter period usually lasts 8 months. It attracts tourists throughout the year with its snow parks and skiing venues as well as winter marathons.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.